Max awoke to the sound of splintering wood and guttural screams. He scrambled back, heart pounding like a drum solo. His vision blurred, trying to adjust to the dim light filtering through the forest canopy. He was in a clearing. Broken carts and scattered crates lay around him. This wasn't his bedroom.
Memories flooded back. The VR headset, the immersive fantasy game, rebirth of the noob god, the loading screen, and then goblins. Grotesque, green-skinned creatures with chipped swords and a thirst for blood. They had ambushed the caravan he was escorting. He was supposed to be the hero, the chosen one. Instead, he spent most of the attack hiding under a cart. Pathetic. At least he was alive. Probably the only one.
Okay, Max, he muttered to himself. Time to noob up.
A holographic screen flickered to life before him, displaying his quest log.
Mushrooms? Seriously? His first quest was a fetch quest? Max sighed. At least it was something he could handle. He just hoped those whispering woods weren't crawling with more goblins. He equipped the rusty sword that was lying beside him. It was more for show than anything else. He had no idea how to use it. He pushed himself to his feet, his legs wobbly. Time to face the world, one mushroom at a time.
The village of ʀᴜᴇიბɪʀᴛ was smaller than he expected. Cobblestone streets lined with quaint cottages and shops gave it a charming medieval feel. NPC villagers went about their daily routines, oblivious to the near-death experience he just had.
The air buzzed with the chatter of other players, their avatars a mix of warriors, mages, and rogues. He spotted a group of newbies huddled together, their faces etched with the same mix of confusion and excitement he felt. He almost joined them, seeking solace in shared noobness, but then he remembered his quest. He needed to find Alara.
He located the healer's hut on the outskirts of the village. A wooden sign with a painted mortar and pestle hung above the door. He took a deep breath and knocked. The door creaked open, revealing a young woman with bright blue hair and a smattering of freckles across her nose. She wore a simple green tunic and brown trousers, her hands stained with various colorful concoctions.
"Well, hello there, dearie," she chirped, her voice surprisingly cheerful. "You must be the new adventurer. Come in, don't mind the mess."
Alara's hut was a chaotic mess of herbs, vials, and bubbling cauldrons. The air hung thick with the scent of lavender and something distinctly mushroomy. He instantly felt a little better just being there.
"I'm Alara, the village healer," she said, her eyes twinkling. "You hear about the mushrooms, I presume?"
Max nodded, pulling out the crumpled quest parchment. Yeah, about those.
Alara chuckled. "Don't worry, dearie. It's a rite of passage for all newbies. Just be careful out there. The Whispering Woods can be a tad unpredictable."
Before Max could even ask what she meant, a villager burst through the door, his face pale with terror.
"Alara, wolves! Dire wolves attacking the south fields!"
The color drained from Alara's face.
"Dire wolves? But those are creatures of the Shadowlands. What are they doing this far south? Adventurer, you must help us. The villagers are no match for those beasts."
Dire wolves? Those were supposed to be high-level monsters. He was just a noob with a rusty sword and a handful of healing potions. This was way out of his league. But then he looked at Alara, her face etched with worry, and the fleeing villagers, their faces filled with fear. He couldn't just stand by. He had to do something. "Okay, I'll help." Section 6. Noob No More. This is the story of a young man who was once considered a novice, a noob, but today he would prove everyone wrong. Fear gnawed at his insides as he raced toward the south fields. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat echoing the urgency of the situation. The once peaceful countryside was now a scene of chaos. Smoke billowed into the sky, and the air was thick with the scent of burning wood and fear. Dire wolves, massive beasts with glowing red eyes and razor-sharp teeth, rampaged through the fields, scattering villagers and livestock alike. Their growls and snarls filled the air, a terrifying symphony of destruction. He spotted a lone wolf cornering a group of villagers. The fear in their eyes mirrored his own, but he knew he had to act. He charged forward, adrenaline pumping through his veins. Every step he took was fueled by a mix of fear and determination. He swung his sword, the rusty blade connecting with the wolf's flank. The impact reverberated up his arm, but he held firm. To his surprise, it drew blood. The sight of the crimson liquid gave him a glimmer of hope. The wolf snarled, turning its attention to him. Its eyes burned with a feral intensity, and he knew he was in for the fight of his life. Max barely had time to react before it lunged. He could feel the rush of air as its jaws snapped shut inches from his face. He rolled out of the way, scrambling back to his feet. His body ached, but he couldn't afford to stop. He was outmatched, outsized, and hopelessly out of his depth. The weight of the situation pressed down on him, but he refused to give in. But he wasn't going down without a fight. His resolve hardened, and he tightened his grip on his sword. He dodged and weaved, his movements clumsy but surprisingly effective. Each dodge was a narrow escape, each weave a desperate attempt to stay alive. He landed a few lucky blows, but for every hit he landed, he received 2 in return. His body screamed in pain, but he pushed through it. His health bar dwindled with every passing second. Sweat poured down his face and his vision blurred, but he knew he couldn't give up. This was his moment to prove that he was no noob, no longer the inexperienced fighter everyone thought he was. Section 8. Awaken the power within. He reacted instinctively, dodging the Alpha's attack with a speed he didn't know he possessed. It was as if time slowed down, and his body moved on its own, guided by an unseen force. The Alpha's claws barely missed him, slicing through the air where he had been just a moment before. He swung his sword, the rusty blade now glowing with an ethereal light. The transformation was sudden and unexpected, the once dull weapon now radiating a power that seemed to resonate with his very soul. It felt lighter, more balanced, as if it had become an extension of his own will. It sliced through the air, connecting with the Alpha's shoulder. The impact was solid, the blade cutting through fur and flesh with ease. The Alpha's growl turned into a pained roar, the force of the blow staggering the massive creature. The Alpha howled in pain, staggering back. Its eyes, once filled with predatory confidence, now showed a flicker of fear. It was a sight that sent a shiver down Max's spine, but also filled him with a newfound determination. The other wolves, sensing their leader's weakness, hesitated. They circled warily, their snarls less aggressive, their movements more cautious. The pack's unity was breaking, their confidence shaken by the Alpha's injury. Max pressed his advantage, his attacks becoming more fluid, more powerful. Each swing of his sword was precise, each movement calculated. He was no longer reacting. He was controlling the flow of the battle, dictating its pace. He was no longer the clumsy noob. He was something more. The transformation was not just in his skills, but in his very essence. He felt a connection to the power within him, a bond that grew stronger with each passing moment. He fought with a ferocity he didn't know he possessed, his every move guided by the mysterious voice in his head. It was a voice that whispered strategies, that urged him to push beyond his limits. The battle was no longer just a fight for survival, it was a test of his newfound abilities. He felt an exhilarating rush of power, the thrill of battle coursing through his veins. It was a sensation unlike any other, a blend of fear and excitement that heightened his senses and sharpened his reflexes. He was alive in a way he had never been before. He finally delivered the killing blow, the Alpha collapsing at his feet with a whimper. The moment was surreal, the culmination of his struggle and determination. The mighty beast that had once seemed invincible now lay defeated, a testament to his growth and resilience. The remaining wolves, their leader slain, turned tail and fled back into the forest. Their retreat was chaotic, a stark contrast to their earlier coordinated attack. The forest swallowed them, their howls fading into the distance. The golden light faded, leaving Max panting and bruised, but undeniably alive. He had done it. The battle had taken its toll, but he stood victorious. The pain and exhaustion were overshadowed by a profound sense of achievement. He had defeated the dire wolves. The clearing was littered with the signs of battle, the ground scarred by the struggle. But amidst the chaos, there was a sense of peace, a calm that settled over the scene. He had become the noob god. The title felt right, a reflection of his journey and transformation. He was no longer just a novice. He was a warrior, a force to be reckoned with. And this was only the beginning. Section 9. A new dawn, a new threat. Exhaustion finally caught up with him, and he collapsed to his knees, the adrenaline wearing off. His breath came in ragged gasps, each one a reminder of the fierce battle he had just endured. The weight of his sword felt heavier than ever, and his muscles screamed in protest. He looked around at the battlefield, littered with the bodies of slain wolves. The ground was stained with blood, and the air was thick with the scent of iron and death. Each fallen creature was a testament to the struggle that had taken place, a grim reminder of the price of survival. The villagers emerged from their hiding places, their faces awash in relief and awe. They had been hiding in fear, praying for a miracle, and now they saw their prayers answered in the form of a weary warrior. Their eyes sparkled with gratitude, and some even shed tears of joy.
You did it, dearie. You saved us. The words were filled with genuine emotion, a heartfelt thank you from a community that had been on the brink of despair.
Max smiled, a wave of exhaustion washing over him. It was a smile of relief, of knowing that he had made a difference. Despite the fatigue, there was a sense of accomplishment that warmed his heart. He had faced his fears and discovered a power within himself he never knew existed. This newfound strength was not just physical, but also mental and emotional. It was a realization that he was capable of more than he had ever imagined. He was finally starting to understand what it meant to be a player in this world. The rules, the challenges, the stakes, it was all becoming clearer. He was no longer just a participant. He was becoming a master of his own destiny. But as the villagers celebrated their victory, a shadow fell over the horizon. The joy of the moment was tinged with an undercurrent of unease, a sense that this peace was fragile and fleeting. A raven flew overhead, its harsh caw breaking the celebratory mood. The bird's presence was ominous, a dark herald of things to come. It circled once before landing on a nearby tree stump, its beady eyes fixed on Max. The intensity of its gaze was unsettling, as if it could see into his very soul. In its beak it held a small rolled-up parchment, sealed with a crimson wax. The seal was intricate, bearing a symbol that Max did not recognize but felt an inexplicable dread towards. As Max watched, the seal dripped, the crimson wax turning a sickly black before his very eyes. It was as if the message itself was tainted, a foreboding sign of the darkness that lay ahead. The raven cawed once more, the sound sending chills down his spine, before taking flight and disappearing into the gathering storm clouds. The sky darkened, and the first drops of rain began to fall, mingling with the blood on the battlefield. The scent of ozone and a strange metallic tang lingered in the air, a silent warning of the darkness to come. The atmosphere was charged with electricity, and every instinct in Max's body screamed that this was far from over. This was only the beginning. The true battle was yet to come, and Max knew that he would need every ounce of his newfound strength to face the challenges that lay ahead. The dawn had brought a new threat, and the journey was far from over.